Warning: this game is intended for mature audiences aged 18 and older. It contains scenes of violence, gore, psychological intense themes, sexual content, and strong language. This game contains flashing lights and flickering effects that may trigger seizure in people with photosensitivity and epilepsy. All characters and events depicted in this game are entirely fictional. Any resemblance to real people or actual events is purely coincidental. I know I probably just mispronounced half of those words, but this already took 10 takes. Holy fuck. Oh yeah, and you've been warned. Hello everyone. Welcome to COLISEUM, a visual novel where we're dragged to a Colosseum, Roman style, and basically we're gonna have to fight some bitches. And in the meantime, maybe find some love. Yeah, I saw how the guys in this game looked. They certainly were made in the lab to look hot. Holy fuck. Anyway, let's get this show on the road. I'm already loving the presentation. Work. Come on. It's useless. There's no water. You look at your reflection in the murky mirror above the sink. Your face became ragged. Your face became haggard with deep shadows under the eyes, and your gaze has grown dull and hollow. Sleepless nights, the endless road, dirt and fear are taking their toll. You barely recognize yourself. Oh yeah, this game has some customization. Guess you can be male or female. Let's go male. Why not? I should clean myself up. Did you wash your hands? The sign on the poster reads, "Did you wash your hands?" You give a tired, wry smile. Irony at its best. The mirror is covered in cloudy streaks and dry slashes. There's still a little water left in the thermos inside your backpack. Just enough to freshen up. Let's see what else might be useful. We have a gun. Nice. A gun is always on hand. You can no longer imagine surviving without it. You pull out the magazine, run a finger over the bullets, and count them in your head. 7 left. I can't afford to waste them. And remember to save one for yourself always. You slide the magazine back into the clicks. The old rag is just a thing to wipe down the mirror. The thermos is half empty, or half full depending on how you look at it. Right now, you wish you were full to the brim. Looks like it's coming off. Wait, are we wasting water cleaning some goddamn mirror? I mean, you do you, dude. I don't think we're alone here. Either that or we must be really tired. I must be imagining things. Yeah, maybe if you're in a situation where you go, oh, I can't imagine surviving without a gun. Maybe it's best if you assume you're not imagining things. And also maybe get a melee weapon, like a bat or some shit. Something more usable. Guess we got bunked over the head. You woke up from a long sleep, your head throbbing with a dull, pulsing pain. My head. Where am I? Guess someplace with a xenomorph around? Okay. It's so dark that you can't see your own hands. The air here is thick and stale, smelling of rust, as if the place hasn't been ventilated for years. Suddenly, a muffled cough came from somewhere nearby. The loud sound bounced off the walls in a brief echo. Oh, so you're actually alive. I thought you were a goner. Well then, sleepy booty, wake up. What? Where am I? Who are you? And what do you want from me? Whoa, easy there, pal. Don't yell, you're in a cell. Eyes haven't adjusted yet, huh? Don't worry, you'll get used to it in a couple of minutes. What the hell? Yep, exactly. Hell knows why we're here. I've been alone for 3 days now. I even started talking to an imaginary rat. Can you believe that? So you're in a room full of imaginary rats. Guy's definitely crazy. He let out a raspy laugh. He looks harmless enough, but clearly not in the right mind. I mean, yeah, he's in a room with rats. Even if imaginary, that's still crazy. Good thing I have finally someone to talk to now. I could entertain with a couple of sob stories. You sure I need to hear this? No. But I do. So shut up and don't interrupt. You brushed me off like a pesky fly and continued anyway. When the outbreak started, I, just like everyone else, didn't believe it at first, and my head is splitting and you're here with your stories? Easy, easy, just listen. You might actually learn something new, or at least you'll help pass the time. The man winced and continued, menacing. I remember as if it was yesterday. Blood in the streets, people panicking, chaos, whole neighborhoods wiped out overnight, and nobody knew what to do. You've heard this 1,000 times and seen it with your own eyes. As if I don't remember what went on myself. Exactly. Everyone has their own story. I'm just telling you how it was for me. 5 years. 5 years we've been living in this inferno. There was a hint of surprise in his voice that he had survived to this point. Everyone I knew is already dead. I sort of started to forget the face of the casual acquaintances I used to sit around campfires with. And why are you telling me this? Expecting sympathy? No. I just think you don't have a choice but to listen. I mean, yeah, we're kinda stuck here. Either we choke this guy to death or we have to listen to him, so. By the way, what do you guys do if there's a zombie apocalypse? I often have nightmares with that, and so my answer is obvious. I would fucking kill myself day one, like I'm not dealing with that shit. He returned to his story again. The world collapsed like a house of cards. No borders, no armies, no rescuers. Just one goal, survival. He abruptly fell silent and clenched his fingers, as if trying to feel for a cigarette he didn't have. Very poetic. I'm practically in tears. You're a sarcastic one. That's good. The ones that take everything seriously don't last long. Yeah, they go crazy. And then they end up in a room full of imaginary rats. Listen, I want to ask you something. Where were you when this all started? He stared at you, waiting for an answer. Oh yeah, so we also get to choose our character's backstory in some ways. I'm not sure how this will affect the story. This is still a demo, so... Let's see, do you want to be a soldier? A medical professional? A normal everyday Joe, I think, or a nerd? Meeny, miny, mo. I have no idea what one I pick. I literally close my eyes and just say my mouse anyway. People crush each other in a panic, trying to find a way out. I don't know by what miracle I even made it out of there alive. He gave a soft grunt, not mocking, but rather understanding. I see you've been through hell too. Everyone's got a story, and they're all equally shitty. He fell silent for a moment, his gaze drifted across the cell. No matter how solid the walls seem, they all crumbled in a few weeks, while the virus patiently spreads. Yeah, guys, I'm going to start leaving these. Normally I take out the times I studied, but I'm going to start to leave them in just so you know how hard this is sometimes. And people aren't known for being patient, especially when there's chaos all around. Yeah, panic and rumors spread faster than infections. A mutated strain, a curse, aliens. The more absurd it was, the more people wanted to believe it. Nobody knows the truth to this day. And what difference does it make anyway? You can't bring the past back. That's one thing I always ask, like, why do you want the truth so bad? Like, why do you want to know where we all came from so badly? Like, that isn't going to change anything. At the end of the day, it's death and taxes. By the way, I've got a cautionary tale for you. About 2 years ago, I met a preacher. He was screaming that the zombies were punishment for the sins of pride. An hour later, he was vowing in a parking lot. If God was watching, he must have grinned. I had another version too, that the military was behind it all. That they were developing a biological weapon, but their experiments spiraled out of control. What difference does it make when, in the end, all that's left is scorched earth and millions of dead bodies? That actually reminds me a lot of the conspiracy theories around, the plague times. Those sure were times. I would spend the whole day in my house playing video games. Yes, teacher, I'm totally hearing you. Totally. Oh no, my camera is malfunctioning. I don't know, like, I'm trying to turn it on, but you see, there's no image. I don't know, I think it's broken. The camera was covered. Yeah, playing Genshin Impact while in video call with a teacher in the middle of classroom was fucking epic, honestly. I don't think I ever ate that much McDonald's. He ran a hand over his face, as if wiping away the image that had flashed before his eyes. And we're different now too. Not everyone could adapt to the new reality. He suddenly fell silent and smiled, not at you, but at some thought on his head. Have you noticed? Everyone found their way. Have you noticed? Everyone found their own way to cope. Some pray, some grovel, And some slitted roads without hesitation. The last one just kind of seems like a sane, most sane option, because like in the end of the world, you don't have to fear the zombies. You have to fear. You don't fear the dead. You fear the living. What helped you survive in the new world? Thinking through escape routes, taking what's mine by force, smiling while lying to everyone, leaving no tracks behind. I'm guessing this is going to affect our stats more. Let's see, so I think it's intelligence, brutality, charisma, and maybe dexterity or stealth. Yeah, this is a demo, so I'm just going to pick at random. Maybe when the full game comes out, I'll, put more thought into it, but for now, let's see what this thing is made of. People stop understanding words, so I often had to use force. I see. Everyone copes the best way they can. It's not really a coping mechanism, it's more like survival. Leaned back against the wall and exhaled. We have no choice anyway, and we never did. At first, everyone was waiting for a miracle. That any moment now, someone would press a magic button and the world would go back to the way it was. You spent the first few days waiting, asking yourself the only question that mattered. What comes next? By day, you stare into the sky, hoping to catch a glimpse of the silhouettes of rescue helicopters. And by night, you twiddle to radio dials, trying to make out a human voice through a noise and static. Every single day, you search for proof that you were not alone. And then what? How long did you wait? A long time. Longer than I should have. And when I stopped, just like everyone else, hope ran out when it came clear. There was no one to save us. Nothing left to save. In the end, it all came down to one thing. Staying alive. But you always give something up for that. Of course. At first, you think there are things you would never do. But over time, that list shrinks. You lean against the cold wall, continue to listen to him. He suddenly went quiet. It felt like he wanted to ask something for a long time, but just hasn't dared to yet. Take you, for instance. What did you have to do to make it to this day? Lie about not having resources, betray those who trusted me, kill a loved one. I couldn't share. In this world, every little scrap might be the thing that saves your life when the time comes. You did what you had to do, otherwise, you wouldn't be there. Yeah, probably. But it doesn't make it any easier. The main thing is, you're still alive. It chuckled, as if remembering something that didn't belong in a place like this. Remember how at first we were afraid to even look at the infected, and now a shot to the head and it's done? Yeah, killing that became a usual thing, as ordinary as opening a can of soup. You lean back and stare at the ceiling. But if you really think about it, once we got used to this nightmare, it finally clicked. It was never about the zombies. They're pretty predictable. The real problem turned out to be the human beings. You don't have to fear the dead, you have to fear the living. Exactly. It was the people who turned out to be the most dangerous. He brightened up. Clearly, it's this topic he turned over his mind 1,000 times. He already regretted keeping the conversation going. By the looks of it, this was going to take a while. The psychos, the bandits, all those other bastards, they never went away. They've always been here. And just that now, they don't even bother pretending to be normal. Yeah, when society collapses, there's no longer a consequence to not follow whatever whim comes to your mind. Yes, there's people who have moral compasses, but some, let's be real, they only don't do some bullshit because they would have to deal with consequences. Some slit throats just for the fun of it. Driven by hunger and despair, some are ready to eat their own children. That's actually something that happens in some cases where people were starving. Like, I can't remember the name of the specific village, but it was somewhere in like the area around the Soviet Union. Basically, when the whole thing of communism was happening, if I remember correctly, they were like seizing cattle and stuff, and some villages were like starving. Yeah, there are stories of people like luring children into their houses to eat them. Maybe that's just where the story of Hansel and Gretel came from. Cause like the thing is that old stories, they aren't just stories for the sake of stories. A lot of them also have a bit of a teaching aspect to them. Like don't trust strangers, don't tell where you're going to strangers, stuff like that. They aren't just a part of entertainment. They were like what do you call it? The thing where they mix education with entertainment? That thing. Anyway. And others oppress people simply because they know there'll be no punishment. Even the strongest can snap. Yeah, but you. I see you holding it together. He leaned forward and lowered his voice. So I wonder, what kept you from kicking the bucket? Hope, hunt, discipline, rage. I kept telling myself that even the darkest ways eventually would end. And this wasn't forever. But with every passing year, that hope withered away. Is that so? Seems like you didn't lie. Being the truth is a rarity these days. You can tell by his voice that his cellmate is smiling. Nobody values honesty anymore. People don't trust anyone. Everyone's just waiting for the catch. I've forgotten what it's like to just trust someone myself. You fell silent for a moment. The calm conversation had set the mood for you to open up. Someone jumped me. I didn't have the time to react, I moved fast. I looked the back of the head, and that was it. You felt a wound in your head with your fingers. It was still throbbing. I don't remember anything after that. That's rough, pal. If it makes you feel any better, I'm not here by choice either. Yeah, I could hazard a guess. He had could already come to terms with this situation. How did you end up here? At first I thought it was just a quarantine. A standard protocol check, no big deal. But did you hear that those assholes were staying outside the door? You shook your head. You hadn't heard a thing in a while. You shook your head. You hadn't heard a thing while you were blacked out. They talk about us like we're pieces of meat. Yeah, they definitely don't sound like rescuers. Exactly. And this space doesn't seem like care to me. I don't know, man. Some hospitals, can be pretty dingy. Like I heard some more stories back in the day that hospitals at some point, especially mental hospitals, they were more about keeping the mentally ill contained than actually helping them, get better and maybe reintegrate into society, or at least, cope with whatever was going on. And generally just people there would abuse the fuck out of the power because like some people would just drop there just to be forgotten. And even hospitals like for people who are sick like with flu and stuff, some of them sometimes had pretty fucked up conditions. Either about lack of funding or just, once again, people loving the idea of having power over others. Honestly, I think that's why so many mean girls want to be nurses. He went quiet for a second, as if making a decision whether to speak his mind. I caught snatches of their conversation. Something about lists and preparation. One of guards say something like, "This one definitely won't last." They are keeping us here for a reason. Yeah, and whatever they're planning, it better be it's better to be mentally prepared for it. He exhaled and rubbed his neck, as if trying to shake off the oppressive thoughts. Then he looked at you attentively. I think I've already worn you out with my rambling, friend. So I'll ask you one last question. Somehow I doubt that. He chuckled and went on. It's about your favorite item. I used to have a Noel lighter. Broken and useless, but I kept it as something special. My wife gave it to me before this hell started. Did you have an item like that? I had everything I needed to last a few days. Every time I threw it over my shoulder, I felt like I could hold on just a little bit longer. The silence of the cell was broken by footsteps echoing down the corridor. The door clanged open. You, get out. The guard, with the badge slung over his shoulder, nodded towards your cellmate, who flinched in surprise. Well, like it's my turn. No congratulations, alright? He forced a smile to hide his anxiety and slowly stood up. Do you even know what's out there? I don't have the slightest clue. And that's what's terrifying. The guard frowns but doesn't rush you. Maybe it's not that bad as you think. Once I find out, I'll let you know. He gave a crooked smile. The joke fell flat, but it was worth a shot. Hands. The rusty handcuff snapped shut around his wrist with a dull metallic clang. Take care of yourself, pal. If you cross paths again, we'll chat more. The door slammed shut behind them, and silence floated back into the cell. You had almost drifted off to sleep when some noise outside the door woke you up. A thin folder slid across the floor, coming to rest on your boot. The questionnaire, fill it out and don't screw it up. The organized like precision. If you mess up, you can say goodbye to your finger. The cover had words burned to it. COLISEUM, confidential report number 8. Bureaucracy even after the end of the world. Fine, let's see. You began flipping the form with the pencil leads. Let's see, Yeah, not making the same mistake as the last game I played where they gave you something like that. Former occupation delivery guy with bad GPS, okay. Damn, my stats are shit! In the past, I was a delivery guy. The last area ended up at the episodes of the first quarantine. Shopping malls have been avoided ever since. After putting the folder aside, you lean back and stare at the ceiling. Oh, we have a dossier. Okay, so health and sanity. The Coliseum dossier. What the hell is going on here? Left alone, you felt the wall start to close in, exhaustion spreading throughout your limbs. From sheer depletion, you fell into a restless sleep. Damn, I never asked my cellmate for his name. The hunger eventually faded, replaced by a dull, throbbing ache in your gut. Without windows, it was impossible to tell how much time had passed. You barely move, only rolling over onto your side now and then. Bastards, they're starving me out. They don't want to waste food on someone who might be infected. If anyone decides you're infected, they won't even bother checking. They'll either leave you to die alone or finish you off on the spot. Your reflections were interrupted by a familiar screech of a door. Get up. You didn't react, only turning your head. Get out! Quarantine is over. You are cleared. Grabbing you by the elbow, the guard raised you to your feet. The handcuffs clinked into place. I don't even care where, just give me something to eat. The guard ignored your plea and led you into the corridor. You didn't resist. You trailed behind him, swaying. The light scorched your eyes after the darkness of the cell. The path led past endless doors and bars. Muffled voices drifted from every direction. The hallway is much warmer than a cell, yet you couldn't stop shivering. Finally, you reached your destination. The guard stopped before another set of bars. Now you could finally see the man in front of you. He was calling. A heavy bat in his hand, his clothes were shabby, but his gear looked relatively new. Take this, so you don't kick the bucket before he starts. The guard shoved a few items into your hands. Bandages, okay. Pills. No, like, food. Don't I get, like, a piece of bread? Maybe of water. Am I supposed to use them? Holy shit, my... You immediately began to feel better. The pain dulled, and the wheel stopped spinning. Well, now you don't look so damn pathetic. Welcome to your new home, Gladiator. Meet your cellmate. So yeah, that does it for the first part of this demo. Guess we're getting, to meet some of the romance options and, the combat mechanics, because I heard there's combat in this game in a few months. In the meantime, I'm going to experiment with some of the options in the first questionnaire, see how that affects our character and our stats, just to see. But honestly, the game might be balanced enough so you don't accidentally fuck yourself over if you just pick random bullshit like I do, or if you just pick the wrong choices. Maybe there's no right or wrong, just, either you have a really pathetic backstory or a less pathetic one, I don't know. But yeah, subscribe, because I'll play the next part when it comes out. I'm following currently the creators on TikTok, and so I should be able to know ASAP when the next part comes around, unless TikTok for some reason decides to not show that to me. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for coming, thanks for watching. subscribe for part 2 whenever that drops. Bye!